Section 9 of Tales of the Samurai by Asataro Miyamori. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Tom Booker. Katsuno's Revenge, Part 6. The following day the weather continued to be all that could be desired. The wide courtyard was duly prepared. The center was enclosed for the list in the shape of an oblong square, and temporary stands had been erected all round it to accommodate the spectators. These were covered with gay carpets and soft cushions which gave color to the scene. A dais in the very center of the gallery on the eastern side of the lists, and at a convenient distance from the target, was richly decorated with hangings of purple and white silk, which fluttered gently in the breeze. This was the place of honor for Lord Saito and his family. From early in the morning, samurai after samurai began to arrive at the castle, and soon every stand was crowded. The lord of the castle, accompanied by his family and attended by a numerous retinue of counselors, pages, and maids of honor, presently appeared, and in great state seated himself in the place prepared for him. Katsuno, gaily dressed, her face powdered and painted in the usual fashion, and the Masamune dagger concealed in the bosom of her garments, was among this company, and avoiding the attention of the others, eagerly awaited her opportunity. "Today or never," she thought to herself. "If I let such a golden opportunity pass, I shall never get another. Dearest Hachiya, look at me from Hades. I will avenge your death before the sun sets." Then, clasping her hands, she murmured a prayer. "O Hachiman, god of war, favor me with success." When those about to take part in the competitions were ready, the umpire, the herald, the signalman, and the registrar all betook themselves to their respective stations. A large drum being then loudly beaten to announce that the tournament was about to begin. One after another, the archers clad in kosode (silk underclothes), hitatare (court robes), and mukabaki (breeches), came forth on horseback into the lists and rode to and fro, till coming to the appointed spot from which to aim, they shot their arrows at the mark. The judge, or umpire, would then, after a careful examination, give his decision. The herald would loudly proclaim the name of the archer and his achievement, while the registrar would make a written record. Then it was the part of the signalman to announce the event to the spectators, who raised such shouts of applause that one might almost fancy the petals of the cherry blossoms fell in showers from the vibration in the air. So archer after archer exhibited his skill, until now it was the turn of number 53, Sakuma Shichiroyamon. Katsuno, who had been impatiently awaiting her chance, and whose nerves were strained to the utmost, involuntarily grasped the dagger in her bosom. Shichiroyamon rode out slowly, but as soon as he had bowed low to his lord, put spurs to his horse and dashed swiftly forward. In her nervous excitement, Katsuno pushed forward, and straightening herself, assumed the attitude necessary to cut at her enemy as he came up to the dais. In so doing, she touched her mistress's shoulder and shrank back inadvertently, but the next moment she again pressed forward and stood ready. Shichiroyamon galloped up with the speed of lightning. The horse's mane touched the railing of the gallery, but before the girl could act, was far out of her reach. With an exclamation of dismay, she stood looking after him. "What is the matter with you, Katsuno?" said Lady Saito, displeased at the want of manners in her favorite maid. Recalled to herself, the girl forced a laugh, but replied readily enough, "Ah, forgive my rudeness, my lady. In my admiration of the heroic sport, I forgot myself." "You are indeed fond of archery." "Yes, my lady, there is nothing I like so well." "A strange taste for a girl," said her mistress, looking curiously at her. "But the excitement is too much for you. You are pale, and your eyes are bloodshot. Have you a headache?" "No, your ladyship, but I did not sleep last night." "Are you not well?" "I am quite well. It was the thought of today's pleasure that kept me awake." "What a passionate lover of archery!" said the lady, laughing, and Katsuno flushed at her mocking tone. The performance of the various numbers on the program required many of the archers to appear several times in the lists, Shichiroyamon among them. Every time he rode forth, Katsuno eagerly watched for her chance, but to her intense mortification it nearly always happened that his horse was on the opposite side of the lists, and the few occasions on which he approached close enough to where she waited, he dashed past so swiftly she was unable to do anything. She wondered if her enemy had recognized her and was on his guard. She suffered an agony of impatience and fear, and almost gave up in despair. The program had been duly gone through, and there now remained only the final ceremony of nanori, or declaring of names. How would this be performed, she wondered. She feared it would not bring Shichiroyamon within her reach. Should she rush desperately into the lists and kill him there in the midst of his compeers? No, that would be too hazardous. Should she fail, her chance would be gone forever. On the other hand, if she let slip this opportunity, was it likely she would ever get another? And she must decide quickly. While Katsuno agonized thus, the ceremony had commenced. Each archer in his turn rode up to the dais, bowed reverentially to his liege lord, declared his name, and slowly withdrew. Quickly making up her mind, she braced herself for action. The day had advanced, and it was now the middle of the afternoon. The cherry blossoms hung still in the bright sunshine, for the air had not movement enough even to stir their delicate petals. A languor seemed to have fallen on all, and even the spectators showed signs of fatigue. Only Katsuno was keenly on the alert. "Number 53! At the call, Shichiroyamon leapt on his horse, pausing a moment to arrange the harness. A swift glance at him as he sat in the full blaze of the sun showed Katsuno that he was splendidly arrayed in a white kosode, covered with a design of nightingales perched on plum trees. With bow and arrows in his hand, and mounted on a snow-white steed, he made a gallant show, his bronze complexion and bushy whiskers adding to his grim and warlike appearance. Katsuno gnashed her teeth. After riding 3 times round the lists, Shichiroyamon suddenly tightened the reins and caused his horse to stop before the dais. Then, slowly riding up to the foot of the gallery, he bowed low, as in a clear voice he proclaimed his name. This moment, as he was about to withdraw, was Katsuno's opportunity. Slipping off her upper garment, she was on the step before anyone could stop her. "Well met, Sakuma Shichiroyamon. I am the wife of Tsuda Hachiya, whom you foully murdered. Taste the sharpness of my revenge." With these words she thrust the dagger into his side with all her strength. So sudden was the attack, and such the force lent by her desperation, that, strong man though he was, Shichiroyamon fell forward from his saddle to the ground. With the cry, "Hachiya is avenged!" she gave him another thrust which proved mortal. A white petal, wafted by the breeze, fluttered softly onto the blood-stained dagger, and for a while all who witnessed the scene were speechless with horror. End of section 9.